The big room was quiet. Only the soft beeps of machines broke the silence. Admiral Ta stood tall, his eyes fixed on the giant screen in front of him. He was the leader of the Galactic Council's defense force. His job was to keep everyone safe. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang out. Red lights flashed all around. The quiet room became very noisy. Officers ran to their stations, pushing buttons and talking fast. "Admiral," shouted a young officer named Min. "We've spotted something strange." Todd walked quickly to Min's screen. "What is it?" he asked, his voice calm but his heart beating fast. Min pointed to a blinking dot on his screen. "It's a ship, sir, but it's like nothing we've ever seen before." Tay's eyes got wide. In all his years, he had seen many ships from many places. But this was different. "Show me more," he ordered. Min's fingers flew over his keyboard. Soon, a bigger image appeared on the main screen. Everyone in the room gasped. The ship was huge. It was long and sleek, with smooth curves and shiny metal. It looked both beautiful and scary at the same time. Strange lights glowed along its sides. "Run a scan," Ta said. He tried to hide the worry in his voice. Another officer, G, spoke up. "Sir, the scans, they don't make sense. The ship's technology, it's far beyond anything we have." Ta felt a chill run down his back. Who could have built such a ship? And why were they here? "Where is it headed?" Ta asked, his voice now showing some fear. Min looked at his screen and then back at Ta. His face was pale. "Sir, it's coming straight for our main defense outpost." The room fell silent again. Everyone looked at Ta, waiting to see what he would do. Tay took a deep breath. He had to be strong for his people. "Send a message to all our ships. Tell them to be ready, but do not attack. We don't know if they're friendly or not." As his officers rushed to follow his orders, Tay turned back to the big screen. He watched the strange ship get closer and closer. In another part of the Galactic Council's big space station, Counselor Yun was having a normal day. She was reading reports and signing papers. But then her door flew open. A young messenger ran in, out of breath. "Counselor Yun, you're needed in the emergency meeting room right away." Yun jumped up, knocking over her cup of tea. "What's happening?" she asked as she hurried out of her office. "A strange ship, Mom," the messenger said as they ran down the hallway. "Admiral Ta says it's like nothing we've ever seen before." Yun's mind raced. Could it be a new friend? Or a dangerous enemy? Either way, things were about to change. When Yun entered the emergency room, she found the other council members already there. They all looked worried. Admiral Ta stood at the front of the room. He pointed to the big screen showing the mysterious ship. "This vessel entered our space an hour ago," Tai explained. "It's heading straight for our main defense outpost. We've tried to talk to them, but they're not answering." "Could it be a mistake?" asked one council member. "Maybe they don't know they've entered our space." Ta shook his head. "No. They changed course to come here. They know exactly where they're going." Yun stepped forward. "What do we know about the ship?" Tai pressed a button, and more pictures appeared on the screen. "It's big, fast, and powerful. Our scans can't even understand some of the technology they're using. Whatever this ship is, it's far more advanced than anything we have." The room buzzed with nervous talk. Some wanted to attack the ship before it got too close. Others wanted to run and hide. Yun raised her hand for quiet. "We can't just attack without knowing more," she said. "But we also can't ignore this threat. Admiral Tay, what do you suggest?" Ta stood straight and tall. "I say we prepare for anything. Get our best ships ready, but we should also try to talk to them again. If they're friendly, we don't want to start a fight by accident." The council members nodded. It was a good plan. As everyone rushed to get ready, Yun walked to the window. She could see the stars outside. Somewhere out there, that strange ship was coming closer. "Who are you?" she whispered to herself. "And what do you want with us?" Little did Yun know, the answers to her questions would change everything they knew about the galaxy. The Galactic Council was about to meet humanity for the first time, and nothing would ever be the same again. Far away from the worried Galactic Council, Captain Joom stood on the bridge of the human battleship Terran Pride. He looked out at the strange stars and smiled. This was why he had joined the space fleet, to explore new worlds and meet new people. "Captain," said his second-in-command, Officer Han, "we're approaching the alien outpost. Should we try to talk to them again?" June nodded. "Yes, let's give it another try. They must be scared. We need to show them we come in peace." On the other side of space, Commander Yun of the Galactic Forces was not feeling peaceful at all. She was in charge of the main defense outpost, and a super-powerful alien ship was coming right at her. "Status report," Yun shouted to her crew. "The alien ship is still coming, ma'am," said one of her officers. "It will be here in 10 minutes. Yun felt her heart race. She had trained for many things, but not this. What should she do? Just then, a voice crackled over the speakers. It was unlike any language Yun had ever heard. "What's happening?" she asked. Her communication officer, Da, looked excited. "Commander, I think they're trying to talk to us." Yun's eyes went wide. "Can you understand them?" Day shook his head. "No, but our computer is working on it. Give it a minute." Back on the Terran Pride, Captain Joom was also waiting. He hoped the aliens would understand their message of peace. Suddenly, Officer Han shouted, "Captain, we're getting a response." Joom rushed to the communication station. At first, he heard only strange noises, but then, slowly, words began to form. "This is Commander Yun of the Galactic Forces," said a hesitant voice. "Who are you?" Joom took a deep breath. This was a big moment in human history. He had to get it right. "This is Captain Joom of the Earth ship Terran Pride," he said clearly. "We come in peace and friendship." There was a long pause. Joom wondered if they had understood him. Then Commander Yun's voice came back. "Earth? We have never heard of this place. Why have you come here?" Joom smiled. "We are explorers," he explained. "We want to meet new people and learn about the galaxy." On her outpost, Yun listened to these words with confusion. These aliens, these humans, had traveled across space just to say hello. It seemed too simple to be true. "Your ship," Yun said. "It's very powerful. Are you sure you're not here to fight?" June laughed, a friendly sound that surprised Yun. No fighting," he said. "We believe in peace, but yes, our ship is strong. We had to be ready for anything out here in space." Yun didn't know what to think. These humans seemed nice, but also very strange. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "you would like to meet face to face. We have a docking bay if you'd like to come aboard." On the Terran Pride, June looked at his crew. They all nodded excitedly. "We would be honored," Jun said to Yun. "We'll prepare a small team to meet you." As the human ship moved closer to the outpost, both sides got ready. The humans put on their best uniforms and practiced their friendly smiles. The Galactic Forces checked their translator devices and tried to calm their nerves. Soon, a small shuttle left the Terran Pride. It carried Captain June, Officer Han, and 3 other crew members. As they flew towards the alien outpost, Jun felt both excited and nervous. "Remember," he told his team, "we're here to make friends. Be polite, be curious, and be careful. We don't want any misunderstandings." The shuttle docked smoothly with the outpost. The humans waited as the airlock hissed open. On the other side stood Commander Yun and her officers. They looked very different from humans, taller, with blue skin and large eyes. But they also looked just as nervous and excited as June felt. For a moment, nobody moved. Humans and aliens stared at each other, taking in their first sight of a new species. Then Jum stepped forward. He smiled and held out his hand, just like he had practiced. "Hello," he said. "It's wonderful to meet you." Elin looked at June's hand, confused. Then she realized it must be a greeting. Slowly, she reached out and took his hand. "Hello," she said back. "Welcome to our outpost." As they shook hands, both Captain June and Commander Yun knew that everything had changed. Humans had made their first alien friends, and the galactic forces had met a species unlike any they had known before. The adventure was just beginning. The meeting between humans and the galactic forces was going well. Captain June and his team sat in a big room with Commander Yun and her officers. They were talking about their different worlds and cultures. "So, you've never met aliens before?" Commander Yun asked, her big eyes wide with surprise. Captain June shook his head. "No, you're the first. We've been searching the stars for a long time, hoping to find others like us." As they talked, neither group noticed the growing problem outside. In another part of the outpost, an officer named Kang was getting more and more angry. He didn't trust these humans. Their ship was too powerful. They must be here to attack. Kang looked at the other officers around him. They seemed just as worried. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to attack us," Kang said. "We need to strike first." The other officers nodded. They were scared, and Kang's words made sense to them. Without telling Commander Yun, Kang and his friends made a plan. They would use the outpost's biggest weapon to shoot at the human ship. They thought this would scare the humans away. Back in the meeting room, alarms suddenly started ringing. Red lights flashed everywhere. Commander Yun jumped up. "What's happening?" She shouted into her communication device. A scared voice answered, "Commander, someone has fired our main weapon at the human ship." Everyone in the room froze. The humans looked at the galactic officers with shock and fear. Captain June spoke first. "Why? We came in peace." Commander Yun was horrified. "I'm so sorry. I didn't order this. I don't know what's happening." Just then, Officer Han from the Terran Pride called Captain June. "Captain, a huge energy beam is coming at us. Should we fire back?" The galactic officers held their breath. This was it. The humans would attack now, and it would be war. But Captain June surprised everyone. "No," he said calmly. "Don't fire back. Raise our shields to full power." Commander Yun couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Shields? But our weapon is the strongest in the galaxy. No shield can stop it." June just smiled. "Watch," he said. Everyone ran to the big window. They could see the Terran Pride floating in space. A huge beam of energy from the outpost was racing towards it. The beam hit the human ship. There was a bright flash of light. Commander Yun covered her eyes. When she looked again, she gasped. The Terran Pride was still there, completely fine. "Impossible," shouted one of the galactic officers. On the outpost screens, they could see what happened. The human ship had some kind of energy field around it. The weapon's beam had just bounced off, harmless. "How?" Commander Yun asked, her voice shaking. Captain June explained. "Our shields are made to absorb energy attacks. Your weapon just made them stronger." The galactic officers couldn't believe it. Their strongest weapon had done nothing. Just then, Kang ran into the room. "Commander," he shouted, "we have to attack again. We can't let them." He stopped when he saw Captain June standing there, calm and unhurt. Commander Yun was furious. "You fired that weapon without my orders." Kang looked down, ashamed. I thought they were a threat. I was trying to protect us." Captain June stepped forward. Everyone thought he would be angry, but instead, he smiled at Kang. "I understand," June said. "You were scared. But next time, please talk to us first. We really do come as friends." Commander Yun was amazed at how kind the human captain was being. She turned to her officers. "Do you all see now?" she said. "The humans could have destroyed us if they wanted to. But they didn't. They truly come in peace. The galactic officers nodded, feeling embarrassed about what happened. Captain June spoke to everyone in the room. Let's forget about this mistake. Instead, why don't we talk about how we can help each other? I'm sure there's a lot we can learn from one another. Commander Ian smiled and nodded. Yes, let's do that. And Captain June, please accept our apology for this incident. We have much to learn about trust and peace from you humans. As they all sat down to talk again, the mood had changed. The galactic forces now looked at the humans with respect and a little bit of awe. These strange aliens were powerful, but also kind and forgiving. It was the start of a new friendship between humans and the galactic forces, and it all happened because of a mistake and a demonstration of power that turned into a lesson in peace. After the exciting events at the outpost, things calmed down. The Galactic Council wanted to meet these interesting humans, so they invited Captain June and his crew to their main space station. The Terran Pride flew slowly next to a small galactic ship. Many aliens watched from windows as the big human ship passed by. They had never seen anything like it before. When they reached the space station, Captain June felt nervous. This was a big moment for humans. He had to do a good job. Remember, he told his crew, be friendly, be respectful, and be careful. We want to make a good impression. The human team walked into a large, bright room. Aliens of all shapes and colors sat around a big table. At the head of the table was Admiral Ta, looking serious but curious. Welcome, humans, Admiral Ta said. We are the Galactic Council. We're happy to meet you. Captain June bowed slightly. Thank you for having us. We're excited to learn about your people and share about ours. A tall, thin alien stood up. This was Counselor Yun. Please, sit down, she said. We have many questions for you. As the humans sat, they noticed how different everything looked. The chairs were strange shapes. The air smelled sweet. Even the lights seemed to float in the air. Lieutenant Su, the human diplomatic officer, spoke up. We're happy to answer your questions. But first, may we ask one? How many different alien races are part of this Galactic Council? The aliens looked at each other, surprised. Admiral Tai answered, There are 27 races in our council. Are you saying humans have never met any of them before? Lieutenant Su nodded. That's right. You're the first aliens we've ever met. The room filled with excited whispers. The aliens were amazed that humans had come so far without meeting anyone else. Tell us about Earth, Counselor Yun said. What is it like? For the next hour, the humans told stories about Earth. They talked about oceans and mountains, cities and farms. The aliens listened with great interest. Your world sounds beautiful, one alien said, but also dangerous. You have earthquakes and storms. Captain June nodded. Yes, our planet can be dangerous. But that's one reason we're good at solving problems. We always have to be ready for anything. The aliens nodded. They were starting to understand why humans were so adaptable. Then it was the aliens' turn to share. They told the humans about their different worlds and cultures. Captain June and his crew were fascinated. You mean you can breathe underwater? Lieutenant Su asked one alien with gills. The alien laughed. Yes, and I'm surprised you can't. There's so much we can learn from each other. As they talked, both humans and aliens started to relax. They were finding out they had a lot in common, even if they looked very different. But then, Admiral Tai asked a hard question. Your ship is very powerful, he said. How do we know you won't use it against us one day? The room got quiet. Everyone waited to hear what the humans would say. Captain June stood up slowly. He looked at each alien before speaking. We understand your worry, he said. If I saw a powerful ship from people I didn't know, I'd be scared too. But let me tell you why you don't need to be afraid. He told them about Earth's history, about how humans fought each other for a long time. But then they learned to work together. We built this ship to explore, not to fight. Jun said. We want to learn and make friends. We've seen what war does. We don't want that anymore. The aliens listened carefully. They could hear the truth in Jun's words. Counselor Yun spoke up. I believe you, Captain. But trust takes time to build. How can we start? Lieutenant Su had an idea. Why don't we set up an exchange program? Some of us could stay here to teach you about humans, and some of you could visit Earth. We can learn about each other slowly. The aliens liked this idea. They started talking excitedly about who would go to Earth first. As the meeting ended, both humans and aliens felt good. They had taken the first steps towards a new friendship. Captain Jun smiled as he walked back to his ship. It hadn't been easy, but they had done it. Humans were now part of a bigger galactic family. He couldn't wait to see what would happen next. The next day, the Galactic Council invited Captain Jun to tell them more about Earth. They wanted to understand where these strange humans came from. Captain Jun stood in front of a big screen. The room was full of aliens from many different worlds. They all watched him with curious eyes. To understand humans, Jun began, you need to know our history. It's not always pretty, but it shaped who we are. He touched a button, and a picture of ancient Earth appeared on the screen. Long ago, humans lived in small groups. We had to fight nature to survive. We learned to use tools and fire. This made us smart and creative. The aliens nodded. Many of them had similar stories about their own races. But then Jun showed pictures that made the aliens gasp. There were images of wars, of big machines destroying forests, of dirty cities with smoke in the air. As we grew smarter, we also became more dangerous, Jun said. His voice was sad. We fought each other over land, over ideas, over anything. We hurt our planet without thinking about tomorrow. Admiral Ta spoke up. If you were so destructive, how did you survive? Jun smiled. That's the amazing part. We almost didn't, but then something changed. He showed new pictures, people cleaning up oceans, big machines planting trees, people from different countries shaking hands. We realized we had to work together, Jun explained, not just with other humans, but with our planet too. It wasn't easy. Many people didn't want to change, but we knew we had to, or we wouldn't survive. The aliens listened closely. They had never heard of a race that came so close to destroying itself and then change. Counselor Yun asked, how did you change so fast? Our records show your technology grew very quickly. Jun nodded. You're right. Once we started working together, we solved problems faster than ever before. We cured diseases. We cleaned our air and water. We even fixed our climate. He showed pictures of huge solar farms, of cities with trees growing on every building, of people living under the ocean and on the moon. In just a few hundred years, we went from fighting each other to exploring space, Jun said. We had to adapt quickly to survive. And now, that's one of our greatest strengths. The room was quiet. The aliens were thinking hard about what they heard. One alien raised a hand. But how do we know you won't go back to your old ways? How do we know you won't hurt us or our worlds? It was a fair question. Captain Jun thought carefully before answering. We remember our history, he said. We teach it to our children, not to make them feel bad, but to remind them how easy it is to make mistakes and how important it is to be kind and to work together. He showed one last picture. It was the Earth, seen from space. It looked small and blue and beautiful. This is our home, Jun said. We almost lost it once. We won't make that mistake again. And now that we've met you, our family is even bigger. We want to protect and help all of us. The aliens started to talk excitedly. Some were amazed by humans' ability to change. Others were impressed by how much humans had learned. Admiral Ta stood up. Thank you, Captain Jun, he said. Your history is both scary and inspiring. We have much to think about. Counselor Yun added, and much to learn from each other, I think. As the meeting ended, many aliens came to talk to June. They had more questions. They wanted to know more about Earth and humans. June felt happy. He knew there was still a long way to go. The aliens were still a bit scared of humans, but they were also interested. They wanted to know more. As he walked back to his ship, June thought about how far humans had come. From fighting for survival on one planet to making friends across the stars. We've changed so much, he thought. I wonder how we'll change next. He looked out at the stars and smiled. Whatever happened next, it was going to be an exciting adventure. A few days after Captain June's talk about Earth's history, something big happened. The Galactic Council was having a quiet morning when suddenly all the alarms went off at once. Admiral Tai ran into the control room. "What's going on?" he shouted. A young officer named Lee was looking at a big screen. His face was very pale. "Sir," he said, "it's the Void Armada. They're coming." Everyone in the room got very quiet. The Void Armada was the scariest enemy the galactic forces had ever faced. They were mean aliens who liked to attack other worlds and take their stuff. Admiral Tai took a deep breath. "How long do we have?" Lee checked his screen again. "They'll be here in 3 days, sir." Tai nodded. "Call everyone to the big meeting room. We need to make a plan." Soon, the meeting room was full. All the alien leaders were there, talking in scared voices. Captain June and his team were there too. They didn't know who the Void Armada was, but they could see everyone was very worried. Admiral Ta stood up to speak. "Friends," he said, "we have bad news. The Void Armada is coming. We have 3 days to get ready." The room filled with scared noises. Many aliens started to cry. Captain June raised his hand. "Excuse me," he said, "but who are the Void Armada?" Counselor Yun answered him. "They are very bad aliens," she said. "They attack other worlds and steal everything. Many planets have been hurt by them. We've been fighting them for a long time, but they're very strong." June nodded. He understood now why everyone was so scared. Admiral Ta continued, "We need to think of a plan. Does anyone have any ideas?" The room was quiet. Nobody knew what to do. Then, a small alien at the back of the room spoke up. "What about the humans?" he said. "Their ship is very strong. Maybe they can help us." Everyone turned to look at Captain June. Some aliens looked hopeful. Others looked doubtful. Admiral Tai asked, "Captain June, would you and your crew be willing to help us fight the Void Armada?" June stood up. He looked at his team. They all nodded at him. "We would be honored to help," June said. "We came here to make friends, and friends help each other when they're in trouble." Many aliens smiled when they heard this, but some still looked worried. One alien asked, "But how can one ship make a difference? The Void Armada has hundreds of ships." June smiled. "Sometimes one ship is all you need," he said, "especially if it has some tricks up its sleeve." He turned to Admiral Ta. "Can you tell us everything you know about the Void Armada? Their ships, their weapons, how they fight?" Ta nodded. "Of course, we'll share all our information with you." For the next few hours, the humans learned all about the Void Armada. They asked many questions. Sometimes they asked about things the aliens had never thought of before. As they talked, the aliens started to feel a little better. The humans didn't seem scared. They were calm and asked smart questions. At the end of the meeting, Admiral Tai asked, "So, Captain June, do you think we have a chance?" June stood up. He looked around the room at all the worried faces. "I think we have more than a chance," he said. "I think we can win, but we'll need to work together. Humans are good at solving hard problems, and you know these bad guys better than we do. Together, we can come up with a plan." The aliens started to look more hopeful. Maybe, with the humans' help, they could beat the Void Armada. Counselor Yun spoke up. "Thank you, Captain June. We're glad to have you as our allies. What do you think we should do first? June smiled. First, he said, we need to look at our strengths. What can each of us do best? Then we'll make a plan that uses all our skills. As the meeting ended, the mood had changed. The aliens were still worried, but now they had hope too. They had 3 days to get ready, 3 days to make a plan, 3 days before the big fight. But now, they weren't alone. They had new friends to help them. The humans were ready for their biggest challenge yet, and they were excited to show the galaxy what they could do. The day had come. The Void Armada was almost here. Everyone in the Galactic Council was nervous, but they were ready. For 3 days, the humans and aliens had worked together. They made a good plan. Now they'd waited to see if it would work. Captain June stood on the bridge of the Terran Pride. He looked out at the stars, thinking about the big fight ahead. Suddenly, a voice called out, "They're here." In the distance, they saw hundreds of black ships. They looked like a dark cloud moving through space. It was the Void Armada. Admiral Tay's voice came over the radio. "Remember the plan," he said. "Good luck, everyone. And thank you, humans, for standing with us." Captain June nodded to his crew. "Let's show them what humans can do," he said. The Terran Pride moved forward. It was alone against the whole Void Armada. The enemy ships saw the Terran Pride. They started to laugh. One little ship against their big army. This would be easy. But they were wrong. As the first enemy ships got close, the Terran Pride did something amazing. It split into 5 smaller ships. The aliens watching from their ships were shocked. They had never seen a ship do that before. Each small human ship was fast and strong. They flew around the enemy ships, confusing them. The Void Armada didn't know what to do. They tried to shoot the human ships, but they kept missing. Then the human ships did something else surprising. They shot out special nets made of energy. These nets caught the enemy ships and stopped them from moving. Now it was time for the galactic ships to help. They flew in and started to fight the trapped enemy ships. The battle was long and hard, but the humans and their new alien friends worked well together. Slowly, they started to win. The Void Armada had never seen anything like this before. They were used to being the strongest. Now, they were losing. After many hours of fighting, the leader of the Void Armada called for his ships to stop. He sent a message to Admiral Ta. "We give up," the message said. "Please stop fighting. We will leave and never come back." Everyone was quiet for a moment. Then cheers rang out across all the galactic ships. They had won. The Terran Pride came back together as one big ship. It had some damage, but it was still strong. Admiral Ta called Captain June. "You did it," he said. "You saved us all." But June shook his head. "No," he said. "We all did it together. That's the human way. We work with our friends to solve big problems." The next day, there was a big party on the Galactic Council's main station. Aliens from all over came to thank the humans. Admiral Ta stood up to make a speech. "Today," he said, "we welcome Earth and all humans to our galactic family. They have shown us what it means to be brave, smart, and kind." He turned to Captain June. "We have decided to make Earth an official member of the Galactic Council. Will you accept?" June smiled big. "It would be our honor," he said. "We have so much to learn from all of you." Counselor Yun stepped forward. "And we have much to learn from you," she said. "Your way of thinking, your technology, your bravery. These are gifts to all of us." As the party went on, humans and aliens talked and laughed together. They were no longer strangers, but friends and allies. Captain June looked around the room. He saw humans teaching aliens Earth games. He saw aliens showing humans their special skills. Everyone was curious about each other. June thought about how far they had come. Just a short time ago, humans were alone in the universe. Now they were part of a big, happy galactic family. He knew there would be more challenges ahead. Space was big and full of surprises, but he wasn't worried. Together with their new friends, humans were ready for anything. Their adventure was just beginning, and the future looked bright and exciting. As the party went on, the stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter. It was the start of a new age for everyone, humans and aliens alike.